pray. Father, we come now just thanking you, Father, for your grace and mercy and blessing us to be able to come out tonight to conduct the business of the county. Lord, we thank you for all of your grace and blessings upon this nation, our state and the county. We ask you to give us wisdom and revelation to be able to discuss and take care of the business at hand. And we give you praise and glory for all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I will do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll call our meeting to order for November 16, 2015. There are, of course, no minutes for this evening to approve. We'll move to the agenda and adjustments. I have a couple of adjustments to the agenda. Under new business, personnel board recommendations will be moved to closed session. And under new business, number 5, the appointments to the planning board will also be moved to closed session. And one addition to new business, a letter in support of the cell phone tower in Gatesville to be sent, or is requested. So we'll put that as item 10. Okay, any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
A motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, I believe we have, the first item on the agenda is delegations. Do you have anyone signed up? Okay, but we do have a ninth delegation, and that is Bill Samler from the National Weather Station.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Chairman Hoffler, members of the board, and County Manager Roundtree. It is a good thing that I'm here. Normally when you all hear me, it's because things are not going to be so good weather-wise, but I'm here to tell you this evening that the county has reasonably been recognized as a storm-ready jurisdiction, one of 4 in northeast North Carolina, the other 3 being Camden, Pasquotank, and Currituck. And that brings you amongst more than 1,000 other localities in the United States that have been recognized as storm ready. If you're not familiar with storm ready, there's a program that was developed back around the year 2000 after a devastating flash flood out in the Fort Smith, Arkansas area that killed a number of people and really opened some eyes to the delinquencies that existed between information to and from the Weather Service and from local government out to the public and other entities. And so the Storm Ready program was devised as a way to recognize localities that have met a wide variety of guidelines. It's far easier to become storm ready now than it was 15 years ago, but it still takes a little effort on the part of the localities to meet the guidelines. And I'm happy to say, and I want to congratulate Billy Wynn and you all as the county on becoming a storm-ready community. We did that back in the latter part of last month. I really appreciate the invitation to come up and formally recognize before the board this evening that you all have been recognized. And as part of that recognition, I have 2 things. I have a small plaque that recognizes Gates County as a storm-ready community. And in addition to that, you get one sign, which you are welcome to place wherever you feel is appropriate or wherever the DOT allows you to place it, recognizing you all as storm-ready. And I want to congratulate you all, and especially Billy, who did the yeoman's amount of the work to make the county storm-ready. And Billy, thank you. I appreciate it. Congratulations.
I now speak for the board that we are very proud to be recognized, and we thank Billy for all his work he does to keep us ready.
Are there any questions for me? Well, again, thank you all and congratulations.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Any elements? Okay, of course, there is no administrative reports tonight or public hearings, but we do have old business, and that, of course, is the historic courthouse.
In your package, you have a letter from John Zellweger, who is one of the engineers with Clearscapes Architecture. And he said that he was sorry that he nor anyone from his company was able to be here tonight, excuse me, due to time constraints. But in the letter, and I will not read it, but he does talk about how he understands that this has been a long process that the county has been undergoing with the historic courthouse, and that he has received all the information from Shelley Sass about a new consultant, Wise Janney Elksner Associates Incorporated. And I will read the final 2 paragraphs. At this time, we understand the county continues to struggle with aspiration to save the West Wing while being confronted with the realities of time and mounting costs. In consulting with the State Historic Preservation Office, we do not believe you will be impacting the building's listing on the National Register, nor any potential future tax credit or grant opportunities should you choose to reconstruct the wing entirely. This is because you have invested so meaningfully in possible solutions to save the wing. In previous conference calls with you and Ms. Roundtree, we discussed the value in doing further materials testing throughout the building and not just the West Wing, to feel confident that there are no additional hidden problems. We recommend you enter into an agreement with WJE Associates that can address the building holistically. We feel that this is one more investment that the county should consider before adopting a reconstruction approach for the West Wing. With so many years struggling to hold on to what your community has enjoyed and been inspired by for 180 years, we believe it is in your best interest to take a bit more time and gather this additional information. We believe it can give you the greatest possible confidence in any final decision you choose to make. And if you recall, the WJE had provided an estimate of $5,800 to do testing. James Andrews with Indius Construction is here tonight to give his opinion and also to address any questions that you might have.
Madam, if I may, before he starts,
Yes.
just for correction, this letter is from Stephen Schuster.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. He is. John is who sent it to me. I do apologize.
No problem.
It's nice to see you again.
Y'all too. Thank y'all for having me. I received the WJE email that kind of forwarded to Ms. Sass, and so I've read over it, and what questions do you have?
Well, I guess our concern is, I mean, we're always looking about costs, but in your evaluation of the building, do we need to have this holistic testing done before we make a decision?
I think some testing would be good, just to try to figure out what is causing all the problems, just so that even if the West Wing is rebuilt, you'd have a plan for the future for the other wings if they have the same problem, or signs of the same problem. The only thing I'd be really careful about, I don't know if John put it in his notes to you, but reading over the information that WJE sent, the 5800 doesn't necessarily include testing. It's a lot of just coming down, looking at it, reading the information that has already been gathered by everybody else. So if I were you, I would find out exactly what they're going to do for that amount of money.
So it sounds like the $5,800 is for an opinion,
That's what it looks like to me.
and testing probably would be, they would probably recommend testing to substantiate the opinion that you're going to give $5,800.
I think so. And that would be an additional cost.
Well, I sent Natalie a couple of emails prior to seeing this letter, and I think one since then. I'm thinking that there's been enough eyes that have looked at it, and you've looked at it, and told us the condition of it. One of the emails that I sent Natalie said, has anybody been under the rest of the building, the main body of the building, not the wings? And she referred back to me that a couple of people had been under there to do other work, like duct work, and they had to dig a trench to get under there to put the duct work in. That tells me it's very low to the ground, which doesn't surprise me really. But I was curious, the kind of testing they're doing is the WJE, I think, is like historical testing things.
Well, the way it's described, and the way I understand it, is they would do, check the brick, check the mortar samples, check the stucco, that kind of thing is what they're going to be testing. The way that building is constructed is all the framing members that the floor system on the first floor and second floor, it's let into the masonry. They've created pockets in the masonry. So all of the wood framing sits in that. So there's really nothing that's pulling or holding the building together other than what the engineer has spec'd or what we did previously when we started really discovering a lot of major problems. So the only problem you would really have with the rest of the building other than the masonry would be termites or something like that getting into the wood framing. In that west wing, before we covered it up, we did replace a bunch of floor joists that were either not prepared correctly or just missing. And we took probably down to have something to walk on for the next stages. So
I think some of that testing is going to involve determining the integrity and capability of the mortar or the brick or whatever to sustain the weight per square inch or whatever. The capability of, when you test it, does it crumble at a certain pressure or whatever? These guys are going to tell you basically how capable the existing mortar and cement and whatever is in there to withstand the load.
that's
I
correct.
think that's the key to try to get to.
If I may, in some places there is no mortar, correct?
Yeah, the outer white of the wall and the inner white of the wall are in good shape. It's good brick. But the interior part of the wall, which is still masonry, the way they constructed it is they just kind of haphazardly stacked brick on top of each other, and occasionally there's just no mortar there, or in a lot of places there's no mortar there. And where it is mortar, you can just pull it out with your finger. It's just powder. And reading over that report that the WJE sent in SAS, it doesn't look like they're communicating with each other, because in several places it said, well, it looked like when they took the stucco off, the brick fell off with it. Well, that's not the case. We can easily get the stucco off. That was a test to see what interior of the wall look like. And I just don't really know why they're not getting that information. I'm pretty sure they were supplied with it. But that's why it was a concern to me for you.
Well, my only concern, here what Commissioner Owens just said, we hate to keep being redundant, but just doing things that we probably already know. Is if our architect has recommended that we move forward with it, and he's the one that has the design plans, he's the one that's gonna give us the final blueprint design on how to build this thing. That's what he's gonna build it by, is what he's designed. If he's recommended that, I really feel hesitant not to go forward with it if he feels that it's to our benefit to get that information. I know before, I think when we talked about going under there, starting reconstruction, that our contractors were hesitant to now, so that area is too unstable.
That's right.
And so, if the architect if he's given us his right and what his recommendation is, I'm kind of leaning towards, I think we need to do it if we're going to move forward with it. And he's the expert.
Was it you guys who stopped the work
Yeah.
when you saw them? I thought that was the case. Personally, I'm of the opinion with the West Wing that it needs to be replaced. Not, and we've talked about keeping as much historical integrity as we possibly can, but if you don't want to, anything that's going to be unsafe or do something that's just going to be patchwork the whole time. And I'm afraid that the East Wing might be found to be the same scenario, and you can't ignore that.
No.
But I mean, I suspect, I'm not saying don't look at the other, but when we start using the word testing, I automatically see these big dollar signs that jump out there, where a carpenter would go under the building and say, hey, these floor joists need to be replaced. And then you design, and say, these floor joists, there's 72 of them under there, it's a big building, and 44 of them need to be replaced, you replace 44 of them. Without testing. You look at them and say, hey, you take a hammer, you hit them, and you tell that they're dirty or whatever, and so you replace them. I just, to me, again, and I appreciate what Mr. George was saying, we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to spend a lot of dollars on top of a mistake. But I'm just not sure about, I think you could go under there yourself without testing and tell us what needs to be done. Am I way off on that?
I think it's actually a combination. I think on the West Wing, based on what we have found, you're probably correct that wing, the cheapest thing to do would be to rebuild it. But testing, not necessarily the West Wing, but the other areas throughout the building would be very useful so that the county would be able to create a plan on how to address those issues when they start coming up. Because it's not in the framing that there's a problem, it's the masonry itself, which is the structure of the building.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes, was there some controversy too about how the brick were baked, that some appeared to fall apart and some?
Well, it's typical of that time period, you're correct. The exterior and the interior white would have been a better quality brick, which would have been fired better. And then the inner courses or whites would have been a cheaper brick, which is what we found. But it's typical of that period.
And that would probably be throughout the entire structure itself?
I would assume, but there's also been some discussion going way back, was the building originally stuccoed, being that it was stuccoed with a cementitious stucco, did that start causing problems also? And I kind of leaned that way a little bit. Jack kind of felt the same way, that moisture was getting trapped inside the wall, couldn't get out, and so that started to deteriorate the inner brick. So that's why I think a little bit of testing would be good on some other areas to see if it's rotting from the inside out.
The fact that it's a two-story building is the thing that, if I were to lean toward the testing, the fact that it's a two-story building would be the thing that would make me the most cautious to lean in that direction because of the load.
I don't think they're going to remove a lot to test. I think it would be just a hole, just to be able to see what's
I
inside.
think it's, yeah. For the-
You answered the question I was going to ask already, but you said a little bit more testing would be needed. When I read this letter from Cliffscapes, and reading between the lines a little bit, it seems to me that they say, we've done everything we can do, we've done all the testing, everything's been done, we know what needs to be done, we can fix it, but this tests patients of all parties involved. It says if you're not satisfied, then go find somebody else to do it all over again. That's what I'm reading in this letter.
I have not seen that letter.
In your opinion, you've been in on most all the testing that's been done, I think.
No, most of the testing was done prior to the project being sent out to bid.
Or you're familiar with the testing.
We would have done a little bit more.
So you feel like there's been not enough testing, that we need to do more?
None of the paperwork that I've seen actually starts discussing what's going on inside of the wall. There's been foundation testing, there's been that kind of stuff, but I don't know of anybody that's done a lot of testing inside. I know there's been a lot of documentation on how much the wall is bowing and that kind of stuff, which they should have that information already. That should require them to come down here to view that.
It seems like to me everybody knows what needs to be done, you just need to go ahead and get it done, rather than test it one more time.
For the information of everyone, Mrs. Sass did not charge us but just a minimum like $750. She did not accept her fee because but she's very interested in the building, and she thought that she's the one that referred us to the
Right.
WJE Associates. And,
Well, let me just say this. If we did reconstruct that west wing, put a new section in there, and without testing, we could be putting new onto something that's not going to, other parts of it's not going to be sustainable. In other words, it may not integrate with it very well, or as you bond it. This new section is not going to be a self-standing or standalone. It's going to be bonded to the other parts of it, which is going to be, it's going to make it a single unit. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. The way it's constructed now is they are not combined. They are separate now. Each wing is pretty much just butted right up against the main building. And so I'm sure the new wing, if it was reconstructed, would be freestanding and be able to carry its own load. And it will also depend on how it's constructed. Is it going to be solid brick again, just like it is? Is it going to be block with a brick veneer? Is it going to be wood frame and then just a brick veneer on top of that, like a normal house? I have no clue.
So you're talking about reconstructing the whole wing, not just the brick veneer.
There is no veneer now. That's the problem. It's a solid, thick wall.
And it's,
Live brick,
yeah,
So,
and it's right up against the original building.
That's correct.
so you're going to replace all of that?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been, I don't know.
Well,
It's not tied into the building per se.
Correct, it's not tied in, it's pretty much just budded, so I'm sure some sort of expansion joint would be created in their design so that they can move independently.
So the whole time the building's been sitting there when the west wing was built, there haven't been tie-ins like we would construct today. It's just thickness of brick with wood frame inside and then another.
Oh, the only wood frame is the floor joist of it itself. That's it. The wall, the plaster in most places was probably applied directly to the masonry itself. which is typical also of that time period. Going back with modern construction, you could wood frame the walls so that the load is now on the wood frame and the masonry would just be a veneer. It wouldn't have any load on it.
Well, if you're going, we're going to cover,
That's right.
we're going to cover what we build.
Mhm.
Would you be inclined to put back a steel west wing with steel?
And that's definitely one way to approach it.
Well, we have the steel that's, you have already put in between the floors.
But they're in pieces,
Okay.
so.
And I believe Reed Thomas with preservation has said that we could put a veneer on it. And so it would look like
That's
it's
right.
old. And we have the interior that you have taken out of it that we could put back in.
I didn't take that interior out. It was gone before I got here.
But it's in the hallway,
She means the floor, I believe.
not for the, wing, chair railing and
There was some stuff stacked on the floor, but I wasn't sure where it came from.
it came out of the way.
But whatever you do, Clearscape is going to design it. In other words, you're not going to go in there and do anything without designs and drawings from Clearscapes.
I won't be able to because a permit has been pulled, so it'll have to go through the county's inspections office to get approval, so it'll require plans from them to do so.
Right. So, whatever we decide, we've got to go back to Clearscape and say, hey, we,
WJE says this.
well, WJE says this, and you agree with WJE, says we should use it. And if we don't agree with them, then they're going to go through with some plans and designs that they may not feel comfortable with moving forward with without us taking their recommendation. I'm just a little bit hesitant. He's clearly said here that we recommend you enter into an agreement with WGE Associates that can address the building holistically. We feel that this is one more investment that the county should consider before adopting a reconstruction approach for the West Wing. And to disregard that, he's going to be in a position that he has to provide a product that he may not be able to stand behind. If we don't agree with him, I'm not saying that we have to make a decision tonight that we're not going to do it. If we do make that decision, then I think we should allow Clearscape to weigh in on it again. What is your alternative if we don't concur with your recommendation to get the testing? Because they're going to be drawing the designs, no one's going to do anything unless they give blueprints to do it.
That's correct.
Originally, and when you started speaking, James, you said that you didn't think everybody has read all the testing that has already been done.
Not you, but not the, it seemed like Ms. Sass and the WJE were kind of questioning or not even reading what they maybe received.
Okay. And so would you say that we maybe draft a letter to WJE asking them to go through the materials, the information that we have already collected,
Right.
and to look at that and to come down and look at the building? I mean, just
I
what,
think that's what they're
That's
going
what-
to do for that amount of money, that's it.
and that's
Just
it.
read it and look at the building, it's based on what I read.
And that's what I understood as well, that's what's gonna cost $5,800.
Plus
Travel.
travel expenses.
Right.
But they have an office in Washington DC, do they not?
Yes, but I do not know where these people would come from.
And I think we need to nail that down, the estimate about that.
James, do you have a recommendation?
We've talked about a bunch of scenarios over the last year. One time it was support the second floor, replace the buttress area. I feel like the sidewalls are much more stable than they were a year ago with the steel, the bracing, that kind of stuff. So it could be, there's just a combination of things that can be done. Replace that end wall, leave the sidewalls, try to support half that of the end wall and replace the bottom, which is all doable, but it's not necessarily the most cost-effective way. You know, my fears for you is that you're going to continue to see problems without knowing what's causing it, and if it's throughout the entire structure. That's the only concern I have. I don't want to keep guessing and throwing money at something that's.
Right, I just heard James say we need to have somebody look at the building so that we don't get in trouble down the road.
Okay, are you willing to make that a motion?
You want to have some discussion? Madam Chairman, based on what I've heard tonight and trying to make a cautious decision on a big project, I move that we contact WJE and ask what we will receive for $5,800, ask for a detailed pricing on what the travel expenses will be, and a time frame. I make that form of motion.
Okay, your motion is contact WJE. What will we receive for the $5,800, cost of travel, and a time frame?
And then, Commissioner, what was we want to consider where they're traveling from as part of that?
I would like to add that comment from
Cost of travel and where
where the parties will be coming from.
the parties will come from. Okay, a motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion, Madam Chairman.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. Open for discussion.
And I do base it, my second, after that review and after receiving our packet about the recommendation from WJE.
And in that letter from WJE, they also were pretty well saying it's going to take phase 2, which is going to be considerably more than $1,500. So it might be nice to find out from the beginning what they expect that to do. I know they're not going to give you a full firm price, but that's going to be another $10,000, $300.
A time frame and what they are.
But you're going to turn this over to the county manager. So we leave a motion like it is, but from the discussion, let her just draft those thoughts and just get back to us.
Mr. Andrews, if we tonight told you to go ahead and start construction as soon as you got to go on from Cliffscape, would you feel comfortable with the information that you have to start construction and not think that the west walls will fall down?
It depends on what the scope is.
What I'm asking, are you sure, or do you feel confident that there is more testing needed before you can start construction?
Well, like I say, it depends on the construction that they're asking us to do, because we stopped on what they were asking us to do before because of safety and what we found. So if the phase is to remove that entire wall, then I feel fine. But if it's to support that second floor, which is definitely doable, we do a lot, but we'd have to be more careful, obviously, and more planning.
So you feel confident to replace the walls?
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
Well, I'm thinking, and now we've already got all these estimates, and now we'll talk about hiring somebody else to get us a second round estimate. If 6 months from now, we decide we need a third round estimate, we'll start all over again.
Yeah, I mean, our bid process would be starting over again, no matter what we did, because nothing that's been discussed is within any of the scope that we've already agreed to do.
replacement wall is not within scope.
No, we have nothing for that. That was just something we brought to everybody's attention.
So, Commissioner Felton, my motion is to find out, basically is to find out more before we,
There are funds, though, that we have not used since we just stopped on the phases that were approved, that we have not billed for those items.
Your motion is just to make an inquiry to WJE, not to hire them.
that's correct. I want to make sure $5,800 doesn't turn into $70,000.
Well, I think what we're looking for, we want to make sure that that WJE evaluate all of the information that we already have. You know, it's what we come up with is saying, hey, they haven't looked at everything we've already got, made an analysis. They want to just come in, and then when they come in, they're going to say, hey, let me look at it. So we want them to definitely tell us that, hey, we're going to come in and look at what you've got, and based on what you've got, if that's sufficient, then maybe you don't even need the testing once they evaluate it. Or, you know, maybe it might be a small amount of testing. But it sounds like that, based on what you were saying and what's been discussed, is that they haven't looked at all of the information that's already there. Communication's not there, and before they come in, you know, that needs to be done. So the letter is saying, tell us, you know, what we're going to get for this. And I think what we want to get for it is, hey, look at what we've already done. We've done so much. And tell us if that's sufficient.
Right. And what needs to be done for the future. I think that's the biggest thing. We see what's going on here, but is that occurring on the east wing, in the center of the building? I'm not worried about the back of the building at all, because that's much newer construction, and it's all concrete and things like that. But, my fear is that cementitious stucco that was applied to the building may have caused a lot of these issues.
Okay, a motion is on the floor. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to contact WJE or direct the county manager to contact WJE and ask what we will receive for the $5,800, the cost of travel, and where they will be coming from, time frame, and what their future, what they see for the future, the next steps in the courthouse. What would they advise for the next step?
And I'll be glad to meet with them too if they have any questions.
And we would appreciate that, because you've been at Brain Zero.
And I think there's a communication issue, I agree with you.
So,
Do y'all know Richard that worked with us? I don't know if you know, he was actually part of some of this stuff that goes back to the 80s, when some of the work was done on the building. And he was very helpful to me. He worked with us kind of part-time over the last few years. And so I was able to kind of pick his brain and figure out what happened and why and all that stuff. So, he passed away in May, so, yeah.
but you would be available to meet with when they can.
Sure.
Okay, the motion is on the floor. Is everybody's clear on what we're voting on? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that is approved. Send a letter or contact, whatever. Okay.
Well, that'd be signed by the chairman or
I personally would prefer to call and talk to them. I think it'd be easier to explain everything that we're requesting by phone conversation and then do a follow-up letter.
I'll be glad to sign it.
We can start out with the phone call.
Okay, moving on, that's all old business. New business, the tax refund request from a citizen. I think, Mr. Ewer, you are being appointed to represent.
what they plan to bring it.
That was moved to closed
So
session.
that was moved to closed.
My name is Perry Ewell, lived in Ewell all my life.
I'm here tonight on behalf of a poor widow lady who lives in Ewell. I think you have a letter in front of you that I wrote a while back and called the name and all. She's a very poor widow lady, has very little income. She's a very private lady and never asked anybody for any help. Just a little background, the Hall Rotary Club and the Women's Club from Ewell has helped her in the past pay some bills. She called, the reason I got involved, my wife got involved, she called back in September and said, I've got a past due tax bill that I don't think I should pay. Her husband claimed that he owned some land, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But said, but her husband had passed away, and she said, I don't want to pay the tax because we have never owned the land. To give you a little background, the land is across the road from Cool Spring Baptist Church. In 1977, the individual got his siblings to write a quitclaim, to write a deed, or sign a quitclaim deed, giving their interest to him. Of course, they had no interest to pass to him, but anyway, he had a deed wrote, not a PIP, but a volume of another kind, and wrote a deed, and of course, they had it recorded, and then it got on the tax roll. I'm sure in the past, his daddy, or great-granddaddy, or granddaddy, there was some verbal agreement made that they owned a piece of land, or was going to be given a piece of land, but it was never documented. They had no legal claim. I talked to the local surveyor, certified surveyor. I talked to Kathy in the rest of these office. She did a lot of research. I talked to Kathy in the tax office, which was very helpful, and nobody can find any claim whatsoever that he owned the land. And she had paid, since 1977, roughly $2,000 tax on this land. Of course, bear in mind, at the same time now, this land was also one point, in 1933, the land was the same land in question, surveyed, and was sold from a local landowner to Chesapeake Camp Lumber Company, or Union Camp, which now has evolved to international paper. They have been paying tax on the same piece of land also the whole time that she's been paying. And it's all possible, if the lady needs some help. I talked to Kathy, and she's in agreement. I talked to the Kathy and the rest of these, and there's just no record of him ever owning the land. Even though there was a deed recorded, it meant nothing because he didn't have any claim to the land. And it would only be fitting and proper to return the tax to the lady. She's a very neat lady, very nice lady, very private lady. But if you can help her and return the tax, if you, at least a portion of the tax, anything would be greatly appreciated to help this lady.
Well, thank you. Mrs. Lane, you gave us a request for the refund, and I think we can only go back how many years?
5 years, yes ma'am, that's correct, based with general statutes. And so that was the tally that I kind of did in prep for that, yes ma'am.
I know we can't go back to.
I'm saying, I said any portion thereof, anything would be greatly appreciated.
You have heard Mr. Ewell. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Ewell or Mrs. Lane?
No question, but certainly reading what you furnished to us, what I see is very obvious to me that she's been paid taxes on someone else's property.
On the county website, there's no land showing. In fact, I talked to Kathy. She said Renee, when she retired, said there was a problem with that piece of land, but she couldn't get it resolved because the lady's husband was still living. As long as he was living, he thought he owned land. He even went up there and had the state put a pipe in there. He put postal signs up there. At one time, the IP went to cut timber, and he went there for shotgun. Thank God it didn't kill nobody. But that's the situation that we're in.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to grant a refund
I
to
move
the.
we approve this request.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to refund the taxes for the last 5 years on the city property. Any further discussion?
I'd like to thank Mr. Ewell for coming up here on behalf of the research.
Amen.
And I would like to thank Ms. Horton and Mrs. Lane for their assistance in the matter. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, so we will,
Thank you.
and hopefully, this will help make our life a little bit easier.
One question for Ed. There's a general statute that allows us to do this. Do you know the number of that at all?
No, sir, I didn't reference that number tag. No, I'm sure if it's 278 or not, but I can email you that, you know, this evening actually, I get back to you. I'm not sure if it's 278 point some, point one,
Could just reference that,
I will, yes, sir.
so it'll be
Okay.
recordable as well.
All right.
Okay, the appointment of the deputy finance officer, we noticed and we had that information in our packet. Request comes from Ms. Pittman to identify someone as a deputy finance officer, and she is recommending that we appoint our county manager as the deputy. Ms. Pittman, would you like to make any comments?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Basically, in the letter, you know, everyone knows that we have to have the pre-audit certifications and signatures to move forward. When I'm out of the office, if things come up that need to be handled, sometimes they're delayed. And Natalie has the education and knowledge and the background, I think, to handle these things when I'm not here in my absence. We've never had this in place. It was done temporarily. At one point, Toby Chapel was made deputy on a temporary basis. But if we could have this, I think, in place on a permanent basis, I think it would just make things a lot easier and relieve a little bit of stress if I'm out of the office.
Are you thinking about day-to-day? I mean, I know you're thinking about for every scenario, but the most common would be you're at a conference for 3 days, that kind of thing.
Right, I'm out of the office for 3 days or a week, and something comes in on Monday or Tuesday that really needs to be handled. And rather than do things back and forth by email, this would give Natalie the ability to sign off on that as a finance officer, do the pre-audit certification that needs to be done, and have everything in place the way it should be done. Correct.
And there are emergencies that come up and you have to have that PA.
Exactly.
Quickly.
There's no certifications or special training required to
Yes, sir.
How about when our auditors come in? They'll be okay with county manager serving in that role?
Yes, absolutely. We checked on that years ago and we put Toby in that capacity as well. And this honestly was borrowed from numerous other counties that have put this in place as well. So this is not something that's unique to us. Most counties do have a deputy finance officer who can fill in if the finance officer is not available, so that things don't have to be put on hold.
And of course, in larger areas, it's no problem because they all have deputies.
Exactly, at least one. That's correct.
Okay?
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
We have a recommendation from a finance officer to appoint deputy finance officer, and she's also recommended our county manager to serve in that role. I move that we adopt, I guess we'll call this an agreement. You have a fancy word we want to use?
You would appoint her, she would be appointed as the deputy
I
finance
make a motion that we accept the recommendation for the appointment of a deputy finance officer and for that person to be our county manager, Natalie Roundtree.
Okay, a motion has been made that we appoint Natalie Roundtree as our deputy finance officer. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. A motion's been made and second. Any discussion?
Well, my only question would, are we appointing Natalie or are we appointing county manager?
I would say you're appointing Natalie Roundtree, not the county manager.
Both words were mentioned, that's what I was, okay, I want to make that clear.
Natalie would be the
Madam Chairman, for clarification, I would like to adjust my motion to state Natalie Roundtree.
Okay. So the motion is to appoint Natalie Roundtree as our deputy finance officer. Does the second agree?
Well, she is the county manager. If she was in any other position, she would be, I don't think she would be the deputy finance officer. I think both of them, if the clarification was both of the county manager and Natalie Roundtree satisfied it, because if she's in any other position, she would not be the finance, deputy finance officer.
Maybe we're looking at, though, there was it's not going to be automatic that whoever is county manager will be the finance, deputy finance.
Well,
Yeah, right, the appointment is for the individual, not for the position. That's correct.
Okay, did everyone clear on what we're doing? Appointing Natalie Roundtree as the deputy finance officer. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. We have gotten an email that Senator Cook is going to make a trip to Case County, and she would like to meet with the Board of Commissioners to discuss concerns we have. And certainly I think we can all come up with a list of concerns that we have. Of course, what we're asked to do is come up with a time on December 11th, which is a Friday.
It has to be after 11, because he will be at the Adult and Aging Task Force meeting that morning.
anytime after 2 p.m.
Yes.
Exactly, too. Okay, everybody kind of look at the calendar. Is 2 agreeable for everyone?
Two o'clock is fine. I'll try to make that time available. Certainly, there's a lot of things we need to talk to them about as part of the lottery funds. And I have a list that we talked to them back in 2013. I think some of those same issues
Still.
Well, yeah, I mean, the lottery, if they would just give us the money for the lottery, it would help. There's designated, and also,
CDBG grants that have been discontinued, have that been reinstated yet for replacement of homes, that you're aware of that?
No, it says not.
Right, and that's something that I think has been a great help to the county. It's been a great blessing to many of the citizens in the county, and certainly we'd like to see that be reinstated as well.
and of course, in the 2016 budget from the state, they're supposed to give counties, rural counties and small counties, some additional tax revenue, money from any new taxes that they put on that would be in proportion to those counties instead of the urban areas. We want to make sure that that stays as it was presented.
Valid.
Yeah, stay valid.
So there's a number of issues that we can make up of, and as things come up, I would appreciate the county manager, if, things you become aware of, that you'll also make a list that we can.
And we'll have another meeting before that time that we might all come up with a list and prioritize.
Before I forget it too, Madam Chairman, the state has reached into Medicaid and, through the Department of Health and through our partners in all our counties, taking several $1 million. So,
And how about mental health issues?
and what else?
And we see more of that, unfortunately. A need for more in that area.
How about meeting location?
I would suggest Mill Pond. And I will confirm that with Joey.
2 o'clock.
Yes.
And of course, the Mill Pond will be getting money from, if the bond passes in March. Okay, Okay, that concludes the new business.
Your support request.
Oh, yes. As all of you know, Bessie Ewer has made an application for a cell tower with U.S. Cellular, I believe, and they have filled out paperwork for that and to move forward on that. And certainly, I think any of you in the Gatesville area know there is very limited coverage. A letter of encouraging them to build as properly as they can so that we can get that, service as quick as possible. And from the board,
Well, certainly we need it. We certainly need more coverage. What they may have done, so I'm in favor of doing that, what they may have done is got their permit for the area to try and keep anyone else from coming in. It's not one of those?
No, they have submitted plans to the planning board, or it was submitted to, let me rephrase, it hasn't been given to the planning board yet. Jennifer Baptiste does have the documentation. She received it while she was preparing packets for the November meeting, so they will not discuss it during November, but she does have their information.
it'll be discussed in
She
December.
was hoping it will be discussed in
And we're
December.
hoping- And they were hoping that in the first quarter of the year that they could move on, that the company would go ahead and move on construction.
Anyway, Jennifer, can I expedite, too late for the planning board?
There's two, they meet on Thursday.
Well, if we only have, this is didn't know we were going to get into this discussion, but I'll bring it up. We already have $7 in the county. Do we have to reinvent the wheel just to have another one? I mean, wouldn't we go back and look at that permitting process and say, we did a good job. Let's go ahead and tell these folks to build a new cell tower.
Well, there's an application process that it has these sort of pieces of information that they have to have in place. I know the Historical Society has gotten a letter from them about, is there any historical structure in the area? We had to respond. There are certain things you have to,
And it's from the Utilities Commission that a lot of that comes from, that they have to get all of that before they could. It was in the newspaper, and it did mention the Historical Society and a few other areas that they had to touch before that they could even finish everything from the county side.
but hopefully, Mrs. Ewer, when she spoke to me, said she thought maybe that would be an encouragement to them that, we are in need of this service, especially in this area of the county, and hopefully maybe it would prompt them to hurry up, and when they got everything done in December, that they could get started as quickly as possible, after the first of the year. Can hurry, a letter.
Well, it's already know that the plan's already in, but certainly, I'll be going to make a motion that we direct the county manager to write a letter expressing to the cell phone tower company, stressing the need for them to move forward with constructing the cell tower that they're approved and permitted, so the citizens of Gates County can have good access to phone connections in this area.
Second.
Motion's been made, properly second. Any other discussion?
I'd like to see us send issue a copy of the letter.
And she said she would give you the name and the address of who to send it to. Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, I believe that concludes the new business. We have citizens' comments. No comments? Okay, we'll have commissioners' comments. We'll start down with Commissioner Freeman.
Good evening, folks. Certainly appreciate your attendance and your participation in what's going on. I want to also thank Mr. Ewell for bringing that forward. to help another one of our citizens out and recognizing that as well through Rotary clubs as well as yourself. As we sit here, and I know I've said it before, but I'd like to reiterate it, is that we are here to make decisions and set directions. However, there are times that the facts are presented to us and we have an opportunity to generate multiple opinions, and we go from there and we try to look after all of your dollars, and that's what we have in our best interest and in your best interest. So again, thank you, and I appreciate your attendance.
Well, I thank you for coming. Everybody up here knows what I'm going to miss right now.
Rub
How
it
many
in.
people here from you? Raise it on up, Gwen. You can
You want to stand up?
It's always nice to see my neighbors here. And I encourage you to come back to the next meeting, which is December 2nd at 10 o'clock. There's going to be a public hearing on a very important matter of a lot of money. And I encourage you to come and bring all of your neighbors, each one of you bring a car full, and let your opinions be known.
All right, I thank everyone for coming and being here, being interested in local government. As you can see, these are decisions that we make that are sometimes a little difficult and not always agreeable among everyone. But we do try to make decisions that are best for the county. And sometimes we may not agree on everything, but we try not to be disagreeable. So at the end of the day, we hope that you see that we are trying to do the best thing for the county. I appreciate you being here.
Well, I appreciate the Gatesville District being represented tonight. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Jack.
Thank you. And Billy, if you can get your people to sit evenly across the auditorium to help us out, we appreciate that. We do thank everybody for being here. I had a real treat last week, along with some of the other folks here. The Chamber of Commerce met at the Gates House, assisted living facility, and we had maybe 40, close to 40 people there, and guest speaker was Commissioner Freeman down there. Did a great job, and we had a wonderful meal in a great facility, and we were waited on by the staff. They waited on our tables and took real good care of us, and it was grand. I was going to say great, but it was a grand. Natalie was there. Everybody was there almost. But anyway, we had a great time, and if you haven't been, all you folks who are listening and looking on the website, if you haven't been out there, just go out and go for a tour. You will not believe that facility. I mean, it's just impeccable. They're doing a great job. Joe Green gave a testimony about how well they were treating his wife out there. And I've heard that from other people as well. But we've got a great facility out there, and we just appreciate the hospitality that we received. And thank you folks for coming out and participating in the process of your government serving you.
I too would like to thank you for coming tonight. As we begin this think about the holidays, we have Thanksgiving. Sometimes I think we kind of overlook that, but we are so blessed in this community, in this country, to have the freedoms that we have. As Commissioner Jordan mentioned, sometimes we do not agree, but we're not disagreeable. We're not enemies when we disagree. We are have our own viewpoints, and from that we get better decisions. And once again, I'd just like to reiterate concern about the state of the world that we live in with the recent events in Paris. It could be Paris on Friday. We don't know where it will be next week or the next week. So let us be vigilant. Let us work to try to make this world a safer place for us and our children and grandchildren. I never thought I would live in the world that we are living in today. So thank you for coming. We will be here on December 2nd at 10 o'clock. Hope to see you there and bring your friends. Maybe we can get someone from my side of the county to come. Okay, we need to do a motion to go in closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318, 11 for economic development, real estate, and personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will take a 5-minute break and then go into closed session. Do I have a motion to come out of closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318, 11?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to come out of closed session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, I will now entertain a motion concerning the planning board.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to appoint Chris Odom to the planning board.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I'll entertain a motion concerning the sheriff's salary.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that increase the sheriff's salary from step 14 in grade 27 to step 16.
Okay, a motion has been made to increase the sheriff's salary from step 14 to step 16. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Can you please include in that motion the date when this is to take
Oh, yes.
effect and where the funding's to come from for this fiscal year?
All right, effective January 1st, from existing line items that can be drawn from current line items in the sheriff's department.
Second agrees.
Okay, so making sure everybody understands what we're voting on, to increase the sheriff's salary from step 14 to 16, beginning January 1st, 2016. Money coming from existing line items in the sheriff's department. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that is passed. Do I hear a motion to adjourn to December 2nd, 2015?
So moved.
Motion been made, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?